Hello, my name is Glenn from AM Exclusive Business Machines, and you might be wondering why we have these three paper trays sitting over here. And the answer is really quite simple. In my opinion, fully half of all paper jams are directly attributable to how either the guides are set up in the tray or how the paper is actually inserted into the tray. And by eliminating some of these issues, you can become that much more productive, eliminate a good deal of your service calls due to paper jams. Okay, this paper tray comes out of a Hewlett Packard P3005 printer, and I'm going to utilize this tray to demonstrate how the positioning of this rear guide can impact the way paper feeds into the printer. So, on every paper tray, there are indications here, little markings of the size of the paper that's being utilized in the printer at that time. Right here I have this set on letter, which is where it should be positioned. Now, if this rear guide is pulled back, say to the A4 setting, and we go to load paper into the printer, what you're going to see is paper is actually too far back. The roller that scoops up the paper is sitting over here, and as that rotates, it'll never even contact the paper. Paper jam every single time. Adversely, what would happen if that rear guide was too far forward? Well, I've pushed this forward maybe 1/4 of an inch to demonstrate this to you. I filled the tray with paper. And when I release this mechanism, which would normally lift the paper into the position that it needs to be picked at, you'll notice that it never came all the way up to where it would contact the roller. That too is going to cause a paper jam. So to sum things up, the first thing you want to check when you're experiencing paper jams to make sure that that rear guide is directly on the setting of the size paper that you're using. This tray comes out of a Hewlett Packard M880 multifunction printer, and I'm going to utilize this tray to demonstrate how misaligning these side guides can adversely affect paper feed. So, the important function of these guides is to ensure that when the paper leaves the tray, that it comes out perpendicular to the paper tray and directly into the paper path, like so. Now, what would happen if these guides were spread too far apart? Common scenario, I've seen it in the field many times. What happens is that when the roller goes to pick the paper up, instead of being guided out of the tray perpendicular to the tray, it comes out slightly skewed. And as that skewed paper enters the paper path and travels along it, it slowly starts tracking toward the side of the printer, and inevitably it's going to get stuck somewhere inside the printer. That could be in the fuser, that could be in the registration assembly. But what we really want to be careful about is that these guides are flush up against the paper to ensure that the paper leaves that tray perfectly straight every time. So we just discussed how you can eliminate many paper feed issues merely by having the rear and side guides adjusted properly. Now let's look at how you can resolve certain paper feed issues by examining how the paper is loaded into the tray. In this case, if we remove the paper, we're going to see that there's a clump of folded up paper underneath it. What happens over here is that as the paper is lifted, it's no longer parallel to the surface of the roller. So as the roller feeds that paper into the printer, it's going to come out skewed and get stuck inside the paper path like we discussed with the side guide scenario. Just as common, if not more so, When paper trays went from 250 to 500 sheets of paper, customers began loading an entire ream of paper at a time. And what happens very often is that the bottom few papers will wind up curling up like this. And after the paper is inserted into the tray, it's not even noticeable. So what's going to happen in this scenario? Well, when we first start printing on that machine, it's going to work like a charm. But what happens when we get to that point where the paper has folded up in front of it? Of course, that's going to create a jam every time. So, let's see that right over there. So the paper is actually going to hit that lip and it's not going to allow the paper to enter into the paper. So, to sum things up, before putting in a service call, wasting your valuable time, wasting your valuable money, it's a great idea to remove any of the paper that's in the tray. Check to make sure that your rear and side guides are adjusted properly, and that the paper is inserted into the tray without any folds and without any paper being curled upward in front of the pad.